So, I just finished Dusk Beyond the End of the World, and I have a lot of thoughts. So, let's talk about it. Okay, so let's real quick run over a quick synopsis for those not in the loop. This is basically about a boy and a girl, Akira and Tawasa, who were at the forefront of like the technological advancements in the world. Long story short, there's a time skip, stuff happens, and then more stuff happens. It's got all sorts of stuff. I guess there's some action, there's romance, it's quite the interesting anime just because there is a lot going on in this anime, and that's very apparent in the first episode. You'll get what I mean if you jump into it and watch the first episode, because it does do a pretty good job of pulling you in to the story. So, now, let me talk about my numerous feelings I have about this anime. First and foremost, I'm just going to jump right out and say it. I think I've decided I'm not a big PA Works guy, because I swear to God, PA Works just destroys me with their stuff. I get that's kind of their modus operandi, but I just don't do well with it. It's something I am coming to terms with the more and more of their shows that I watch. Second thing on the docket, and this is minor spoilers for anyone who is interested in watching the show and hasn't yet. So with the mention of the spoiler in mind, skip maybe like 10 seconds ahead if you don't want to hear it. And I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but I was ready to absolutely demolish the rating I was giving this show, because I thought they wasted one of the absolute best characters of the entire damn season, which I'm glad they hit me with the pump fake on that. This show surprised me in a lot of different ways. I don't think the art for the show was necessarily the best, although it had its moments. I think the animation at times was very, very good. I thought the series in its own right had a fair amount of like plot twists and surprises. And of course that goes well into the last episode. The last episode was actually, I think, my favorite episode of the series, if not the first episode. It's kind of one of those series where there was good in between, but I think the best was the first and the last episodes of the series. Which, for me, PA Works, last episodes of the series typically don't work out for me with that series, so it was a pleasant surprise that I actually liked the last episode of this series. I wouldn't say to jump into this if you're like strictly looking for action, although there were a fair number of like some pretty cool action scenes in this series. Again, I think you get a pretty good dose of that early in the series, and not so much in the middle. Like I said, I think the middle of the series is more like world and relationship building between the characters, although like I had mentioned, it does still have its moments. And then much like my feelings for the rest of the series, the final episode also had some nice action scenes, some nice action sequences. Once again, I think for me personally, I've always considered shows significantly better if it has characters that I really enjoy. And I thought this show did have a really solid cast of characters. Like I mentioned earlier, the series does have, in my opinion, one of the best characters in the entire anime season, if not the entire anime year. Not to mention, I think the main characters, Yugure and Akira, I think they're two very good characters. I think the cast that they meet along the way throughout the series is super solid. And some, like I said, this is something, and I keep bringing it up, but it's hard for me to explain how important characters are to a show or a series. There will be another review later this week for another series that I think struggles because it just has a lack of character depth in general. It makes the world in that anime feel pretty empty or dead. It's not the same when you don't have a good cast of characters. I think PA Works typically does a pretty good job with the production. Like I mentioned already, the art and animation was solid. I think the music was very, very good as well. And I don't know that the music absolutely jumped off the page to me, but there definitely are times where I think the music made a scene or two here and there. So I think they did a fine job with it. For the show, I rated this like a 70. I hate doing round numbers, but I did give it a 70 because it just felt like the right place. I felt like in the 60s was too low, but I didn't want to give it the few extra notches into the 70s range. I think part of that is because of what I referenced in that small spoilery section earlier. Personally, I guess I would say I would recommend this series. Like I said, it depends heavily on what you kind of enjoy. If you aren't so much into the romance or the dramatic type of stuff, then maybe it's not for you. But it might be worth giving a few episodes and see if it hooks you. That being said, I think I've talked about all I want to talk about, so let's go ahead and wrap up this video. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will catch you guys all on the next one.